MindShifter Audio Blog, a place for your mind to grow.
The tragic cost of premature leadership. Why rising too soon destroys more than just you. A half-baked cake doesn't just fail to rise, it collapses on itself, leaving a soggy, inedible mess that wastes every ingredient that went into it. But when a leader rises before they're ready, the collapse is far more devastating. It's not just their own dreams that crumble, it's the hopes, futures, and well-being of everyone who trusted them to guide the way. As leaders, we carry a weight that extends far beyond our personal ambitions. Every decision we make, every position we accept before we're truly prepared, has the power to lift others up or bring them crashing down with us. Let's dig deeper into this baking analogy, because the parallels of leadership development are unnervingly precise. When you make a cake, you don't just throw ingredients together and hope for the best. The flour must be measured correctly. That's your knowledge base. The eggs must be at room temperature. That's your emotional intelligence. Warmed by experience and failure, the sugar must be properly creamed. That's your ability to bring the balance of sweetness and energy to difficult situations. But here's what separates good bakers from disasters. Understanding that mixing is just the beginning. Once that batter goes into the oven, a complex chemical transformation begins. The proteins coagulate, providing structure. The starches gelatinize, creating stability. The leavening agents create the rise, but only if the temperature is right and the timing is perfect. In leadership, this oven time is your season of testing, refining, and proving. It's where your character is formed under pressure. It's where you learn to hold steady when the heat is intense. It's where God shapes your backbone, your discernment, and your capacity to carry the weight of others' dreams. History is littered with the wreckage of leaders who grabbed positions before they were ready. They had charisma, they had vision, they had opportunity, but they lacked the internal structure to sustain the weight of leadership. And when they collapsed, they took entire organizations, communities, and nations down with them. Think about the young executive who gets promoted to CEO because of one successful project, only to discover that they lack the emotional maturity to navigate complex personnel issues. Their inexperience doesn't just cost them their job, it costs employees their livelihoods, shareholders their investments, and customers their trust. Consider the pastor who plants a church based on their speaking gifts alone, without the deep spiritual formation that comes from years of faithful service in obscurity. When the inevitable storm comes, their shallow roots can't hold. The church splits, families are torn apart, and people walk away from faith altogether. What about the political leader who rises on popular appeal but lacks the deep understanding of governance and human nature required to lead with wisdom? Their decisions don't just affect their career, they shape the destiny of entire populations. Here's what I see while coaching developing leaders. When we rise before we're ready, the people who suffer the most aren't us. It's the ones who believed in us. It's the team members who followed our vision. It's the community that invested their hope in our leadership. When a half-baked leader collapses under pressure, they create what I call leadership trauma in their followers. People who trusted, who invested, who believed, suddenly find themselves abandoned in the wreckage of someone else's premature ambition. They become cynical about leadership itself. They lose faith in vision, in change, in the possibility that anyone can be trusted with power. This can cause internal damage. The young employee who watched their mentor leader make decisions that destroyed the company doesn't just lose a job, they lose their model for ethical leadership. The congregation that watched their pastor's moral failure doesn't just lose a church, they question whether spiritual authority can ever be trusted. The citizens who watch their elected officials' incompetence create chaos don't just lose faith in that individual, they lose faith in the entire system. Let's go deeper into the oven analogy, because this is where God does his most crucial work in developing leaders. In baking, there are specific temperatures and time requirements that cannot be rushed. Too high heat, and the outside burns while the inside remains raw. Too low heat, and the cake never develops the structure it needs to stand. God's formation process for leaders follows the same precise chemistry. The early heat, your first taste of authority, needs to be moderate and sustained. This is where you learn to handle small responsibilities with faithfulness, where you discover your weaknesses not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments where no one is watching. The middle phase requires steady, consistent heat. This is where the real transformation happens. Your pride gets broken down, your self-reliance gets challenged, your motives get purified, your character gets tested under increasing pressure until it becomes unshakable. The final phase is the hardest. High heat for a short, intense period. This is where God tests whether you can maintain your integrity, your compassion, and your clarity of purpose when everything is on the line, when the stakes are highest, when the pressure is most intense, when the easiest path is compromise. Skip any of these phases, and you get a leader who looks ready on the outside, but collapses when the real pressure comes. For leaders who truly want to serve at the highest level, waiting for God's timing isn't passive. It's the most active, disciplined work you'll ever do. It's using your current season, however humble, to build the internal infrastructure that will support greater responsibility. Every day you spend learning to lead yourself well is a day invested in your future capacity to lead others. Every moment you spend in prayer, seeking God for leadership, is building the spiritual sensitivity you'll need to discern in complex situations. Every leader needs discernment. Every season you spend serving faithfully in small roles is developing muscle memory of stewardship that will serve you when the stakes are higher. God's timing isn't about withholding good things from you. It's about preparing you to handle good things without being destroyed by them. He's developing your capacity not just to reach the position, but to transform it, to elevate it, to leave it better than you found it. How do you know when you're truly ready for greater leadership responsibility? Here are the deeper markers that go beyond surface competence. You've learned to lead yourself in areas where no one is watching. Your private character matches your public persona. You can be trusted with secrets, with resources, with power, because you've proven faithful in small things. You've developed the emotional and spiritual resilience to absorb criticism, disappointment, and even betrayal without losing your core identity or mission. You know who you are as a person, not just in your role. You've learned to seek God's wisdom before your own understanding, to value His approval over human applause, to measure success by His standards rather than worldly metrics. Most importantly, you've developed a deep sense of stewardship rather than ownership. You understand that every position, every opportunity, every platform is ultimately His, entrusted to you for the benefit of others. The hardest part of leadership development isn't learning to lead, it's learning to wait. It's having the humility to recognize when you're not ready, even when the opportunity is calling your name. It's having the faith to trust that God's timing is perfect, even when His pace feels painfully slow. But here's what I want every developing leader to understand. The cost of waiting pales in comparison to the cost of rising too soon. Your reputation can recover from delayed advancement. Your character may never recover from premature collapse. The people who will one day depend on your leadership deserve a leader who has been fully formed, tested, and proven. They deserve someone who has learned to weather storms before being asked to guide others through them. Don't rob them of that by taking yourself out of life's oven too early. Let God complete the work He's doing in you. Let yourself be fully baked, strong, stable, and sweet before you ask others to depend on your leadership. The world has enough half-baked leaders. It needs leaders who have been transformed by fire, shaped by time, and prepared by God to carry the weight of others' hopes without crumbling under pressure. Stay in the oven. Trust the process. Let God finish what He started. Your future followers are depending on it, and so are you.
The MindShifter Audio Blog.